Do you feel like you're doing all the right things, but it's still just not enough? I think it's because self-care, when you work in a job like this, is simply not enough. You see, self-care for most of us focuses more on recovery and rejuvenation. Ultimately, it doesn't address the root cause of our stress, which is why it can only take us so far. I mean, after all, we got into this job because we want to help other people. We want to support our students and our community. We want to do something meaningful. And that can sometimes come at a cost. But there is a shift that we can make to start thinking about the way that we can engage with this career in a long-term and sustainable way. And heck, we might even enjoy it along the way. And that's why I want to propose a shift from self-care to self-preservation. My name's Jake. I've been an educator for the last 10 years, and 4 years into my journey working in schools, I burnt out hard. And it took me about 3 years to recover from that and figure out how I could rebuild my career and build it sustainably. And I'll tell you what, I feel like I learned it the hard way. And that's why I want to make this video for you, so that if you're in a similar place, you can hopefully not have as hard a time as I did. There are a couple of limitations that come along with self-care that it's really important to understand, and understand why it's just not enough. In most cases, we think about self-care in terms of recovery and rejuvenation. The problem with this is that sometimes the stress that we experience gets to a level that's so high that the self-care in itself can't actually address and fully eliminate the stress that we're experiencing. Especially working in schools, we're exposed to so many different kinds of stress and have to juggle so many different things, not to mention the fact that our work has an impact on the positive outcomes of other people's lives. Regardless of the work that you do in schools, that's a lot of responsibility. Working in schools is a different kind of stress than a lot of people are used to or even understand. And because a lot of self-care is focused on the recovery and not the prevention, it doesn't prevent or shield us from experiencing more stress down the road. For example, if every day you feel stressed and overwhelmed that you don't have enough time in your day to get everything done, or that things are slipping through the cracks that are really important, going home and exercising or eating right, or even taking a relaxing bubble bath isn't going to help you feel better about that. At the end of the day, we can still feel like total crap. It can be really confusing and really frustrating to be doing all the right things and still not feeling like it's enough. Because the stakes of our job and the expectations from ourselves can be so high, it's critical that we fully understand what it takes to thrive in this career and be able to take care of ourselves in a more realistic way so that we can keep doing this work for the long term and not burn out after just a few years. To help me illustrate where we're going with this, I've been really inspired by a quote by Audre Lorde, who in her words is a Black feminist, lesbian, mother, poet, who was also a civil rights activist, among many other things. And at one point in her life, she was diagnosed with cancer. And there was something that she wrote during this time that really resonated with me about her experience of grappling with cancer and working towards a cause that she believed in and knew that millions of other people believed in it and would benefit from her work. And I want to read it to you. I had to examine, in my dreams, as well as my immune function tests, the devastating effects of overextension. Overextending myself is not stretching myself. I had to accept how difficult it is to monitor the difference. Necessary for me is cutting down on sugar. Crucial. Physically, psychically, caring for myself is not self-indulgence. It is self-preservation, and that is an act of political warfare. It's the shift towards self-preservation that is crucial for us to be able to understand how do we carry the weight of the responsibility of this job and the impact that we can have on other people while still being able to be in this without overextending ourselves, but still making sure that we produce the best quality work and provide the best level of support for our students and our community. See, self-preservation doesn't just take the recovery and rejuvenation aspect, it also incorporates a level of prevention and intention setting with how exactly are we going to show up to this work, and how can we continue to do our best work without compromising our ability to do this work for the long term. And I think the side of prevention and sustainability and honestly enjoyment is where we've fallen short in education. We expect so much of the people that work in schools and we give them so little, and we don't give them permission to figure out what it means to take care of themselves. Take getting sick, for example. In most cases, especially when you're a teacher, it's easier to just show up to work sick than it is to call out and set up subplans or make sure your responsibilities are covered or figure out what the heck people are going to do while you're gone. The extent to which that impacts us is quite large compared to other professions, where maybe calling off for a day or two isn't such a big deal. And when I think about my own experience, I was so excited to start working in schools. And about 4 years in, I burned out really hard. It was an extremely difficult time, not only because I was so burnt out and started to fall out of love with my job, but I noticed that the work that I was showing up and doing every day was not things that I was proud of and was not making me feel like I was doing a good job or feel like I was actually making a difference in my job. Ultimately, it ended up with me having to quit my job at that school, and then I ended up getting a job at another school. You see, I was working in a school that was for students with social and emotional disabilities, and I transferred into a neighborhood high school where my responsibilities weren't nearly as vast and intense as they were before. But before too long, I noticed that I wasn't really feeling any better about my burnout, and I wasn't confident with the way I was showing up to my work. And it started to take more of an impact than even just that initial burnout when I realized I needed to leave my job. What I started to realize is that the way in which I was showing up and the way in which I was engaging with my work was part of the problem. Sure, I had started doing other things to take better care of my health. I started going to the gym and exercising, and I started looking at my diet a little bit closer, but those things weren't enough for me to actually recover from what I was experiencing with burnout. To be honest with you, I didn't really figure that out for a couple of years. And so the cycle just kind of continued, and I ended up quitting that job too. It wasn't until I accepted a job I was really excited about. I was case managing students who were expelled or at risk of being expelled in our school district. But the feelings of the job just being too much and me not being able to take care of myself persisted. And it wasn't until I started thinking about self-care in a more holistic way of how can I not only recover from the things that are happening to me on a daily basis, but also how do I protect myself in the first place so that I wouldn't need to have as much recovery, so that I could actually do this job without feeling the need to go home and just collapse on the couch and scroll on my phone or order some comfort food and binge my favorite show. And I think that this is why self-preservation as an alternative to self-care is what really made the difference for me to be able to thrive in my job and be happy with the quality of work that I was doing and the way that I was able to support my students day after day without really adding too much extra effort in my self-care plan. So the question starts to become, how do we start to apply this shift? What does it look like for us to engage with self-preservation instead of just focusing on self-care? Number one is we have to focus on setting boundaries that make sense. And I think that some of the resistance and misunderstanding about boundaries comes from thinking that boundaries are simply about protecting ourselves and our own well-being. And I would argue that boundaries for me have served more to protect the quality of work in the way that I can show up and provide a high quality of work repeatedly and over a long period of time. Because I know if I'm burnt out and I'm feeling overwhelmed, or if I'm distracted by how many other things I have that need my attention, I know I'm not going to be able to show up and do my best work. I think this video is going to be a little too long for us to get into the specifics of boundaries, but if you'd like to hear more, let me know in the comments. But one simple boundary shift that you can think about to help protect your quality of work just a little bit more is what it looks like when you have downtime. Of course, I'm using quotes because we don't really get downtime as educators, but there are plenty of times when we want to be working on something specific, whether that be in our classroom or in our office, and somebody, whether it's a student or a colleague, sees that we're available and naturally they want to check in with us. But one shift that we should be considering making is protecting that time that we have to ourselves, especially if we're already ingrained in a task that we know is important. By politely declining to see a student or politely declining a request from your colleague, that in itself is an act of self-preservation in the interest of setting a boundary to protect your quality of work. If you're constantly being distracted or interrupted, then you're not going to be able to produce high-quality work that actually matters. In these situations, I think it's super easy for us to fall into, well, it's important to build a relationship and nurture that relationship with our students, but I would argue that it's more important to do the work that really matters, which is probably crafting better lessons and building your relationship with that student through your lessons instead of in your time when you should be working and focusing on the work that really matters. And trust me, as the kid in school who wanted to spend their recess time in the classroom talking with the teacher instead of talking to the other kids, your students will forgive you or completely forget the fact that you told them, no, you can't hang out in my classroom. And it's simple boundary shifts like these that start to compound and start to redefine the way in which we show up to do our best work. And when it comes to doing our best work, the next thing we need to do is prioritize what work we're working on. We need to start to build a system of how we can prioritize all of the things that are coming at us and all of the expectations that we have on our time and energy, and really start to focus in on the things that are going to be most important for the long term and most important in reaching the goal of working in a school. Building a system for how to filter out what really needs to get your attention and what doesn't is critical for being able to focus on the work that actually matters, whether that's meeting with the student that's already in your office or focusing on the presentation that you're going to be giving to a class later this week. By starting to evaluate and change the way that we show up and do our best work, we can start to engage in not only the recovery efforts of self-care, but also the prevention efforts of preventing it from getting to the point where we feel overwhelmed and feel like self-care is not enough. Because I don't know about you, but I want to do this work for a really long time, but if I burn out and that timeline gets really short, I'm not going to feel good about that. But what do you think? What's your experience been? Let me know in the comments. In what ways are you engaging with self-preservation? And do you think that self-care is enough? I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.